everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today, mostly because we're tackling a topic that, let's be real, practically every driven, focused learner has completely obsessed over at some point. Today, we are opening up Chapter 10 of our source material, and we're going on a mission to uncover the grounded truth about cognitive upgrades. We are pulling back the curtain on the myth of the quick fix brain hack. If you've ever tried to optimize your mental performance, you already know there's this massive industry out there promising you instant results. But what does the actual text say? Well, it turns out that our most beloved cognitive shortcuts, like, for example, thinking a cup of coffee literally rewires our brain for brilliance, are, quite frankly, myths. Let's break down exactly why.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Can a snack actually make you smarter? It's such a seductive idea, isn't it? And I want to validate that desire right out of the gate. It's completely natural to want a shortcut. We all have those days where our brains feel like they're just running through molasses, and the idea that we could just chew on something specific or sip a special drink and suddenly unlock Einstein levels of processing power, that's incredibly appealing. We desperately want the answer to be a resounding yes. But before we look at what the source material reveals, we need to make sure we're crystal clear on what exactly it is we're investigating today.
So here is our working definition, pulled straight from the core concepts of the text. A brain hack is a purported quick, effortless tweak, like a specific beverage or music, claimed to instantly upgrade human cognitive function. Now read that carefully, specifically the word purported. I want you to put on your detective hats with me for a second, because this is the basic premise we're investigating. Notice words like quick, effortless, and instantly. These are the absolute hallmarks of the modern brain hack. It's the ultimate promise of maximum output from minimum input. But as any good detective knows, if a claim sounds too good to be true, it usually requires a rigorous cross-examination. And that is exactly what Chapter 10 does.
Section 1. The Quick Fix Myth and the Allure of Effortless Upgrades. Let's open up the case files. The source material specifically targets three incredibly pervasive myths: coffee, blueberries, and classical music. These are the heavy hitters, right? These are the most common, culturally accepted hacks that people lean on every single day. And the reason this matters to you, whether you're a student who's crammed for a final exam at 2 a.m. or a professional trying to squeeze just an impossible amount of productivity out of your workday, is because we invest massive amounts of time, money, and hope into these effortless upgrades. By structuring our investigation around these three specific items, the source text systematically dismantles the broader illusion of the quick fix. So we're going to put each one of these suspects on trial right now.
Moving to Section 2, Debunking the Coffee Hack. Case file number 1.
Let me ask you, and be totally honest, how many times this week have you dragged yourself to the kitchen or a cafe relying on a cup of coffee to provide a massive, instantaneous brain boost? We literally treat coffee like an instant brain upgrade. We expect this absolute upgrade to our brain's processing speed. But the text reveals it is entirely useless as a quick fix hack. Why? Well, because while caffeine blocks adenosine receptors to temporarily mask fatigue and make you feel awake, it does absolutely nothing to elevate your complex cognitive processing or build new neural pathways. It doesn't magically rewrite your brain or grant you effortless brilliance. It simply hides how tired you are. So, as a true cognitive upgrade, it's useless. Section 3. Debunking the Blueberry Hack. Case file number 2.
Now, what's really interesting here is the shift to foods. If coffee is the aggressive approach to brain hacking, blueberries are the holistic, nature-based approach. We see endless articles claiming that a handful of berries will suddenly clear the brain fog and drastically sharpen our focus. We've basically elevated a simple fruit to the status of a magic brain food, thinking that eating a bowl of blueberries right before a test is going to instantly wire our neurons for success. But Chapter 10 completely shuts this down. It classifies them as useless for instant gains. The source text explains that sure, their antioxidants are absolutely excellent for your long-term neurological health, but they don't function as a quick fix to instantly upgrade your cognitive function today. There are absolutely no instant gains to be found at the bottom of a fruit bowl.
Section 4. Debunking classical music. Case file number 3.
Have you ever spent way too much time carefully curating the perfect classical study playlist? Maybe you've heard that old adage that listening to Mozart makes you a genius, so you're piping symphonies into your headphones, creating this genius-level focus audio, fully expecting to just absorb the brilliance of the composer. But the source labels it an ineffective cognitive enhancer. Chapter 10 completely dismantles the so-called Mozart effect. Studies show it might act as a mild temporary mood elevator, which, hey, is nice, but it does not act as a shortcut to high-level intellect. And honestly, I point this out because understanding this is incredibly helpful. It literally saves you from stressing out over perfectly curated audio. You don't have to waste time finding the exact right sonata to unlock your brain.
And that brings us to Section 5, Why Brain Hacks Fail, the Grounding Truth.
We've examined the 3 most prominent case files, and now we need to step back and look at the overarching theme. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what the text is getting at. When we look at these supposed hacks side by side, coffee, blueberries, and classical music, the source reality is unyielding. They are all fundamentally useless for instant upgrades. So why does the source text group these 3 wildly different things together in the same chapter? The common denominator here is failure, because they all rely on the deeply flawed premise that complex human cognition can just be bypassed effortlessly. They all promise that a simple external tweak can replace actual focus and hard work, but the reality is these simple tweaks completely fail to elevate our core intelligence.
There is no quick fix. I know. That might sound a little disappointing at first. But honestly, it should be incredibly freeing. By dismantling these myths, Chapter 10 is actually doing us a massive favor. It frees you from chasing false, effortless upgrades. You don't need to waste your energy hunting for the perfect hack or the magic food or the genius frequency. The text strips away all of those illusions so you can finally focus on the reality of how your brain actually works and learns.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly important question. If there is no quick fix, what are you really feeding your brain? If we can't rely on a cup of coffee, a handful of blueberries, or a classical symphony to magically do the heavy lifting for us, it means the responsibility for our cognitive growth lies in our actual habits, our deep focus, and our sustained effort. I want you to really think about that question today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope unpacking this chapter has clarified the reality of the quick fix myth for you, and I can't wait to explore more fascinating topics with you next time.